Ooh, I'm eating brunch with my people though. The homie Dyke just cooked up a feast and we bout to eat it, bro. Fucked around and has to mix the lobster with the poutine. Daddy is rolling blue dream, them boys got down a routine. It's Naptown culture, cooking 7 courses. Had to pass the torch and now I'm grabbing second portion. So sit back, relax, grab a drink and a smoke. It's Harder Brunch on the way and get prepared for the jokes. Whoa.
Hi, and welcome to the Harder Brunch Podcast. I'm your host, Dyke Michaels. With me, as always, my co-host, Thaddaeus Mckee.
Slappy, pappy, wank, wank.
On the ones and twos, the wheels of steel, the sauce boss of Indianapolis, and the last bespoke dragon. Give it up for Zach Rohn, everybody.
Honk, honk.
And a very special first-time guest with us in studio from Chef JJ's. It's Chef JJ.
Hello.
Hey.
Chef JJ Boston.
Yes, sir.
I found that out online.
Yeah,
That was it.
Man of mystery, right?
Right.
Apparently, you're supposed to put stuff about yourself online.
International man of mystery.
The mystery man is here himself,
Yeah.
guys. He made it.
He is real.
You're real.
I
That's
did
the
find.
response
I
I
did. Well, you do a lot of food education, a lot of classes, and I felt I saw a lot of clips of you like talking about teaching,
Sure.
and talking about food. But I was like, how do you know something about the man himself?
Right? Yeah. So, I guess the man himself, how far back you want to go? Farwell Elementary, home of the Falcons. Go Falcons.
Are
Yeah.
you from Indiana?
No. So, I was born and raised in Spokane, Washington.
Okay.
Beautiful Spokane, Washington.
Oh.
East side of the state of Washington State, right on the Idaho border. Home of Gonzaga basketball.
Okay.
And so born and raised there, and then I was a young corporate chef who got moved around a lot to open up restaurants for an independent company. I wasn't married, didn't have any kids, so I was like the perfect guy who gets to get transferred,
Yeah.
Yeah.
spend
Travel to all these cool different cities and never get to see any of them.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what people not in the industry, they're like, oh, did you, because I was all over the country, and they're like, oh, about this city and this. Like, I spent 95 hours a week between my hotel and the restaurant, and that was it. And we did that for about 4 months, and then I moved to another city. So, and this is where you start to date myself, but that was mid-90s, early 2000, where the like social media, stuff like that wasn't prevalent. So it was very much a bunch of like single-serve friends. You had your whole, when you open restaurants, it's a big pyramid thing. So you hire a bunch, and by the time you get through training, those 2-3 weeks, you're kind of your core staff. Mm-hmm. Lots of partying, lots of single serve friends. Then you move on to the next city. You're never going to see those people again.
Start it all over again.
I did that for about 5 straight years between the mid 90s and 2000. And this is where I hit burnout. We'd opened 27 restaurants, and
Oh wow.
I was like, guys, I'm done. I can't do this for a while. And they kept trying to transfer me. And the problem with Indianapolis is that it has a big city economy and very small city economics, meaning like cost of living. So they're like, we want to move you to Schaumburg or to San Francisco. And I'm like, okay, well, you're gonna need to double my salary. They're like, oh, well, we can't pay a chef that much. And I'm like, well, I guess this is where I'm gonna be for a little bit.
Yeah.
Then.
Just we're gonna have to part ways.
Yeah. And very shortly after that, opening the restaurant here, we came to town to take over Planet Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
It was
I
fun.
forgot we had a Planet Hollywood.
Yeah, it was in the mid
a hot
80s,
minute.
early 90s, the
Yeah.
big craze of Hard Rock Cafe, Planet Hollywoods.
Okay.
So Planet Hollywood opened in the, I think, early 90s here, and then it went bankrupt or shut down pretty quickly. And then our restaurant group came in to take, gut that space and make it its own. And that was the Ram Restaurant.
Okay, yeah.
Ram Restaurant and Brewery. So I was part of the opening team, culinary team, management team, who opened up the Ram Restaurant, which is also where we brought in the people who started Sun King Brewery.
Yeah.
That's the core of that, and there's a bunch of other kind of spin-offs from there as well. But and then shortly after that, met my wife, started a family.
So was Indianapolis just the last place you worked?
Indianapolis was the last place I was willing to move away from because they couldn't pay me enough to move away from it. It hit that perfect sweet spot of
Nice.
It's a good salary and it doesn't cost much to live here.
Yeah.
And now you want me to go to what city and you're only going to pay me how much more? Mm-hmm. Well, that's not worth it. And when I was young and not married, I was just chasing the money. Yeah, you want to move me again? Yeah, it'll be another 5%, another 10%, another.
You weren't worried about the weather or anything like that?
I didn't care. I was working in a restaurant. I was working 80 hours a week.
That's
I
true.
didn't care about anything except making the money.
Yeah.
But yeah, and when you meet somebody and you start a family, and then you're like, well, this sucks. And kind of when I came to that realization, my wife was pregnant with our first child, was due in November, and the planes hit the Twin Towers September, and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I'm going to be in this culinary world, and I'm going to be working all these hours, I'm going to have this kid in this new world of all this terrorism and all that. And so then at that point, I said one of the stupidest things I've ever said to myself. And I said, you know what? I'm willing to work 80 hours a week if this means I don't have to work 40 hours a week. And I was like,
wait, what?
Huh?
Mathematically, it just doesn't go.
Well, no, it's like owning your own business.
Yeah.
At that point, I wanted to control my own future. And I didn't care how hard I had to work. I didn't want to not have control of what was going to happen to me and being able to provide for my family and all of that. And yeah, when the plane hit those towers, it was like, yeah, I don't have any control of any of this.
Yeah.
So I want to control. So I told my wife, I was like, hey, I think I'm gonna quit my corporate job and I'm just gonna be a personal chef. And she said, that's awesome. I love you. I support you. What are you gonna do with the rest of your week?
Okay.
It's like, what do you mean? I'm gonna be a personal chef.
Yeah.
And she said, you and I both know that's not a real business model. Personal chefs aren't fully employed. That's not a real thing. And we're not going to raise a family off of you working 2 nights a week and a couple of holidays. And she's a very, very smart woman, and she's in finance and college educated, and thinks she should have a plan about stuff. So she forced me into a business plan of a personal chef business plan, something that would offer something to people more than like Thursdays and Fridays and Saturdays, or more than Sunday brunch, stuff like that. That's when I got like meal planning and took stuff from my corporate background of team building activities and things like that, and just had a bigger library of stuff to offer. And then did the personal chef thing with her very strong backing and support. She was a young businesswoman getting into finance, so she was super like connected and networky and doing all of that stuff. And then she made me go to that stuff, and I'm like, ugh. And I went to that stuff, and I was like, ugh. And it just blew up my business.
Oh, wow.
So I hit my 1-year goal the first like 3 months I was open.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I, started complaining to my wife a little bit about how hard the work was. She's like, be careful what happens when you make a plan. It might work.
Yeah.
Right.
And she always reminds me of that anytime I want to complain about any sort of work. She's like, you made this plan.
Yeah.
If you didn't want it to work, you wouldn't have made the plan this way.
I like that because it's the most encouraging way of saying, I don't think you can do this. Right. Like you're going to have a really good plan if you're going to,
right.
But it's also right. Like,
yeah, it's exactly right. So there was that kind of early success of that early, like, oh, this is going to work. Because I had more to offer than just this, I'll feed you dinner one night. And then very into that networking thing, I met a gentleman he was a landscape architect. His name was John Carr, excuse me. Jim's his father, I believe. And he owned a landscape. He would build fancy outdoor kitchens for people, and he had a place up in Zionsville, on the main streets in Zionsville, called Grillmaster's Garden. And it was this barbecue shop, and then he built this really extravagant outdoor kitchen in his backyard, in the back of this place. And he was trying to host grilling classes, and trying to get like chefs from around the city who was working in restaurants to commit to hosting the classes and things like that. And he was doing a ton of them. He was doing like 30 a year kind of thing. And he would get these chefs to commit, but then they would, not even be working there by the time it would be their turn to host, or they would just disappear. And it was all this. So I was like, well, I'm a personal chef. I'll do them all for you. Like, that's great. That's 30 booked nights. Sweet. Yeah, I'll take that money. So I started hosting stuff like that for him. And then that led to just more personal chef gigs and all that. Went to the back of this dude's house. It's all, kind of referral stuff. So I went to this dude's house one night, and he was like, hey, I'm grilling out tonight. Do you mind if, you cook on my big green eggs and all that? And I'm like, dude, I don't care. I'm a professional chef. Like, I'll cook on whatever you want.
Sure.
I like grilling. I think it's cool. Get to hang out on your back deck. And I did a beef tenderloin dish that always done in corporate restaurants, always pretty standard prep recipe, pretty standard sear finish, nothing creative or out there. And I did that on the egg, and I, tasted it before I started, and I was like, holy crap, that is the best beef tenderloin I've ever made in my life. That is literally the best piece of meat I've ever tasted. I not only want to own that grill, I want to sell those. Dude, I'm not a salesman. I'm a chef. I don't want to sell anything. I'm the most pessimist. I don't want to deal with any of that. But I wanted to literally at that moment sell that grill. And I was like, if I'm getting that excited about wanting to sell this grill is going to sell itself. Like, this is amazing. I can't believe not everybody owns this thing. So I did the dinner, called up Big Green Egg. I was like, hey, I want to sell your grill.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. You have to have a store. You have to have brick and mortar. These are our rules, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't have a brick and mortar. I'm a personal chef, but I promise you I can sell these. Like, if I promise you. I was like, I have no idea how or why, but they will sell.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, if you could set up an appropriate place for delivery and all of that. So I bought a storage unit, and my drop ships would show up there, and they would basically just drop it off the pallet at the gate of the delivery storage unit, and I have to dolly all these eggs back to my storage unit.
Oh, wow.
And that's how they did it. So then I became the chef who would only go to your house with Big Green Eggs if you didn't have them. And I'd unload them out of my truck, and if I could get them in your backyard, great. If not, I'd cook in your driveway. I don't care. Right. But I'm cooking on those Big Green Eggs.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And the food did exactly what it did to me. People were blown away by it. And I was like, yeah, it's awesome, right? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, I tell you what, I'll make you a great deal if you want that grill. For me not to load it back up in my truck, I will give you a spectacular deal. I will sell that cheaper than any place you're going to find it in town. And I did that from 2006 to 2009, just selling them out of the back of my truck, basically.
Wow.
And became the biggest green egg dealer in the Midwest, which was just an accident.
Just word of mouth, and just by doing these,
just word of mouth. It started out with
cooking.
it started out with like one house, and then people would do like a little block party. So I'd bring like 4 eggs, and then I'd get to the point where I'd go to neighborhoods that had a clubhouse, and that's where I started Egg Fest. And so we'd call it Egg Fest, Chef JJ's Egg Fest. And we would go around to the neighborhood and let people know, and they could pre-order eggs and then show up at the clubhouse and eat the food and then take their egg back to their house.
Wow.
Turns out it was all that it was cracked up to be.
Oh, that's terrible. we were counting on you for that too. It is all it was cracked up to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we ended up selling hundreds and hundreds of eggs until we opened our first location in 2009, which is up in Broadwayville. It was this tiny little postage stamp of a location.
That was Chef JJ's backyard?
Chef JJ's backyard, yep. It was right behind the... no, Applebee's isn't there anymore. Joella's Hot Chicken now, are they still there? Mm-hmm. Yeah, or that like Kinko's thing. It was right behind there. It was a standalone
Magic
building.
Bus?
Yeah. But that building's not even there anymore. And it was a 700 square foot building. So we built a patio because we didn't own that building, so he charged us to rent. Normally how rent works is they charge you on the square footage of the building. Mm-hmm. Anything outside the building is just extra. Yeah. So we had this little 700 square foot building, and I built a 1,400 square foot patio off the back of it right over the river. So it was like this awesome backyard, perfect setting that was beautiful and worked perfectly. But it was tiny. There was no, like you think the scale of business for a personal chef is impossible. Well, try scaling a location that can seat 20 or 25. So that became a problem pretty quickly because it was all cool at first. Mm-hmm. And this was my, I forget what they call it when you get like scared of success or the success no longer feels good. Mm-hmm. I forget what they call that. But what happened is again, on the business model, I'll try and offer things to sell. So once we had the location, we were able to offer dinners and classes and much more of what we wanted to do with a set location. Mm-hmm. And those tickets and we only sold 20 tickets to each event. And
you're not schlepping around these eggs everywhere.
It's so much better for my clients to come to me and buy the egg and take it with them. And we still do delivery, but yeah, schlepping them around, it was so much hard work.
Sure.
They're so heavy. And you're right, we did break more than one. I mean, they don't bounce; they crack. You tip it over. There is no coming back from that.
So, do you think there's anything though to like the kind of hunger you have to not carry that thing back into the car that makes you sell it a little better?
No, well,
like, do you lose a little bit of an edge if you're not like, you know, really having to pay that price at the end?
I think I think it's worth a couple percentage points off the sale to not load it back up for sure.
That's also going to be a good motivator in your head to be like, you're not loading this back in the car. You're selling. You're making a sale.
Yeah.
But if you load it back up, you're still getting yoked.
Well,
man, we got one more and then he's out of the show. We agreed on it.
That's terrible. Gosh.
Walking on eggshells here.
He's a professional.
Yeah, all right, you got it.
Hat trick.
That's better.
Hat trick.
That's perfect. Well, it is having it right there and having that experience and having that actual connection. Like, you're not going to buy this grill from some teenage kid at a retail store.
Yeah.
Right.
You're buying it from a chef who now you are on a first name basis with that chef and you can contact him for recipes or help, or like having that connection just makes the sale flawless.
Yeah.
And then, being able to undercut prices and already having it at their house. I used to do I joked about it. That was like selling crack. I used to do a lend an egg program. So if you didn't really know about it, you weren't sure, I go to I go to a client's house and just drop off an egg, spend about 15 minutes and show them how to fire it up and use it and let them use it for a couple of weeks. And then I'd come back and pick it up. And I never once had to come back and pick it up.
Whoa.
It was 100% close rate.
Wow.
100% close rate.
These things sell themselves.
100%. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not retail. I probably spend more time not selling them. I'm very bad at retail. I joke about how bad I am at retail because I'm never like looking ahead or trying to be in the proper season or any, like, I don't care about the retail. It just sells itself.
Something that's been a theme in your journey so far is you believe in yourself, you believe in something, and then you find out a way to make it work. And like I think that's pretty admirable because like you stick with it. And the problem is the success. Like, what do I do with it now?
Well, right. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
And I think that's something in hospitality. A lot of people, I believe they have the power within them. They just don't see it. And that is, and I said this earlier, while we were having brunch, is, a lot of people in hospitality feel like they're the help. And it's like, you don't have to be the help. You can be the show. You should be the show. You're the one busting your ass. You should be the show. They should be celebrating you, not being like treating you like a servant. Because, but unfortunately this state contributes to that servitude kind of attitude, paying people legally $2.13 an hour, which is a whole different separate podcast.
Yeah.
But I do like that you said it is a performance, right?
Absolutely. It's a performance. Hospitality is a performance. Now, depending on how far you want to get away from the authenticness of that performance, you do act a certain way when you are hosting people versus when you are not. Some people love doing it. Yeah. Some people hate doing it. Some people will only do it when they're paid. Yeah. But either way, it is a performance, and you're giving your friends or your guests or the paid people showing up a part of you. And so, you're not the help. You're the show, baby, and you should be compensated as such and respected as such, for sure. Whether it's that service person who knows exactly what you should be ordering and exactly what wine you should be having with that, because they know the kitchen and they're like, this is what's happening right now and this is what you should be eating because this is what you should be doing right now. Oh, I'd really like this dish. Trust me, sweetheart, you do not want that dish tonight. You don't want it. This is my job tonight to tell you what's going to be awesome for you. That is, to me, that's totally worth more than $2.13 an hour.
Yeah.
And as a business owner, if that's all you recognize them as, wow, we won't get into that topic either, I guess. But
how do you go from the spot in Broad Ripple to the spot downtown?
Oh, gosh. So I thought it would be a brilliant idea to announce all of our classes and events. I've had my own platform for a long time, my own custom platform. I never wanted to pay for the fees of selling tickets and things like that. I always wanted all of that. Mm-hmm. So we've always spent money on that. And early on, when we got a location, so before I would announce events without a location, I would have a location. It would be clients' homes, it would be neighborhoods, something like this. but I wouldn't tell anybody where it is. So they'd buy tickets to the event, and then once all the tickets were sold, I'd mail the ticket holders the address, and then you'd have the street full of cars. People would, homeowners associations wouldn't appreciate that, but it's one shot, 4 hours. We got away with it. Once we had the location, we didn't have to do that. So trying to build that excitement, I thought it would be cool to announce like the whole year's events. And we did this on Black Friday. So we opened 2009, the location in Broad Ripple. So for the year of 2010, we're going to announce our 2010 events on Black Friday. Everything's on special, blah, blah, blah. This is 130 a quarter, so 120 events, something like that. And they all sold out in like 8 minutes.
Oh, wow.
It was terrible. It was one of the worst days of my life. Because the first 8 minutes was the most exciting thing ever. Like, oh my gosh, wow. And then after that, this website broke and went down.
You Zuckerberg it.
I don't even know what that
really
means.
It up.
It went bad. And then the email started rolling in about like, why the F am I getting this effing email when there's nothing effing for sale? Take me off your effing list. Like, nobody wants this. Stop sending me this spam. You're always telling me there's something for sale, but you're always sold out. And I got this gift card a year ago, and I can never use it because everything's sold out. And I was like, yeah, this isn't good. People hear that, and they're like, oh, that's a good problem to have. And you're like, actually, that's a terrible problem. That's the worst business model ever. People don't want to be like, oh, yeah, that place is so sexy. I'm going to wait a year and a half to get in. Like, that's not how that works. They just forget about you and move on. So that 2010 was a disaster because I basically sold my whole inventory in November of 2009, which, by the way, all those sales hit for 2009, not 2010. That was a good learning moment there too, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when you sell tickets to an event, it doesn't matter when the event is. It matters when you get the money.
The transaction.
Yeah.
Yep. Huh.
So yeah, tax note.
So I couldn't help but notice the grilled cheese throwdown.
Oh yeah.
Do you consider yourself to be like a professional grilled cheese expert?
It's funny. I got thrown into that a little bit. It says throwdown, thrown in.
Yeah.
So the discussion in my inner world earlier this year was that I needed to be more chef-like or restaurant-y like. I needed to play a little bit more in the restaurant sandbox a little bit. I'm a bit of a black sheep.
Oh, gotcha. Participate a little more in the community. Yeah,
when you don't, when you're not open as a restaurant, you're not open to the public. You don't. I've never. Early on, I participated in like a lot of fundraisers and things like that for in the name of getting your name out there or whatever. But when you're running a business in the name of getting your name out there, doesn't pay your bills, and so that stuff has never really driven me, interests me. I give, you're probably not allowed to swear, are we?
Yeah, you can say whatever you feel comfortable saying.
I give zero fucks about any of this. Yeah. Really, I don't need any titles. You don't need to be
the cool kid.
I don't need to. I've never been the cool kid. I don't need to be the cool kid. I'm perfectly comfortable with who I am, and I'm cool with that. But in the interest of just branding and maintaining that business model and all of that, it's just so easy to dip your toe in the restaurant thing that I was told that I'm just basically an idiot for not doing it. It's just so easy. I don't, it's like you don't have to be best friends with any of these people, but this is just easy stuff. And then I found something that I give a shit about, and that's World Food Championships and Team Indiana and supporting their causes and stuff like that. So hooked up with Tommy, and he said, you got to enter a contest and see what happens and try to go to World Food Championship.
Very cool.
So he said, you're doing grilled cheese. It was a grilled cheese throwdown. The rules were the cheese had to be the star.
Right.
So these competition cooking is not like cooking real food.
Sure.
All has very specific
definitions
and.
But to you, what makes a grill? Where's the breaking point? What can you add to a grilled cheese before it becomes a melt?
We all want to know.
Per se.
You can't add any protein to a grilled. No, you can't add any protein to a grilled cheese.
Yeah, that's an asinine question to ask.
You can't add.
It's great. It's great. It's great when something blows up in your face.
God damn it.
This has been a 5-year argument, and you just settled it.
Do you have the
God
cube?
damn it.
Do you have the cube? What is it? The
We don't
3D
use it.
cubes? Do you have the 3D cube? What's a sandwich versus what's not a sandwich? If you can eat it from the middle, it's not a sandwich.
What?
If you can eat it from the middle, like it's the cubed thing. A sandwich is you always eat from the corners.
Oh.
Whether you're cutting it square or triangle, you're always eating it from a corner. A burrito, is that a sandwich?
Yeah, but if you cut a sandwich in half triangle wise, then you're going to eat it from the middle.
But it's a corner when you cut triangle wise. Now it's a corner.
But you can still go in the middle.
Yeah.
It's corners.
See, I don't know. I think I'm still right about this grilled cheese
No,
thing.
no.
You can't have if you're saying it's a grilled cheese.
But
can't
you wouldn't
have
call it a
protein.
bacon melt, would you?
Well, how much bacon are you putting on?
2 slices.
Why? I'm just asking why. What's the point of it? What are you
Well,
trying to do
okay.
for the sandwich?
Can you, so no protein. Can you put like jams or jellies on it?
Yeah.
What do you
Jams,
feel about
jellies.
that? How do you feel about jams and jellies?
You've been so wrong already.
God damn it.
I'll let you have your little whatever you
Yeah.
get.
Jams or jellies?
Jams or jellies is
See,
fine.
the problem with protein is that it's so good, it automatically becomes the star of anything you're putting it on.
So that's the star rule is what you're saying.
That's the star rule. So, yes.
So
If
finish the story about what you were doing.
Well, so my grilled cheese, the rule is their rules specifically were it had to be 2 pieces of bread. The cheese had to be the star. So I did Texas toast. We buttered. Normally people have either mayonnaise or butter on their bread. So I did butter, but I wanted tomato with my grilled cheese. So I did a smoked tomato butter, and then buttered the toast with that. And then the cheese, well, if the star is going to be the cheese, you might want to spend some money on some cheese and just make it really awesome. So I did Cypress Groves, Midnight Moon, which is a Gouda. No, it's a goat, but it's aged in a Gouda style.
Okay.
So it's really, really smooth and nutty, but not grassy like goat cheese can get.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do a bunch of our own pickling and things like that. So pickled rhubarb and cherries was the kind of middle layer. So and that's it. That's all there was.
I like the idea of the infused butter on the grilled cheese, so you get those flavors without, compromising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people pigeonhole me a little bit as like a barbecue guy, even though I do because I cook on a Big Green Egg, but I actually do very little actual like barbecue. I appreciate barbecue, but I'm not a big fan of barbecue as like trying to sell it, because it's one of those it's like trying to sell chicken wings.
Yeah.
Like, man, your chicken wings better be effing perfect every time. Otherwise, your chicken wings are crap. And that's like barbecue. If your barbecue isn't like perfect every time, their barbecue's crap. It's like, well, 2 hours ago it was perfect.
Yeah. Man, you just missed it.
You did, man. You just missed it. So I was like, ugh. So yeah, that was a sandwich. I got to cook it on a janky flat top, and it was good times.
And then you won?
I won.
So you're going to
apparently.
World Food Champions?
I'm going to World Food Championship.
Hey, congratulations.
I'm a champion. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Crazy when a plan comes together, right?
Right?
So now I have to do this. Now the same category. It's a sandwich category. It's called grilled sandwich for World Food Championship, and they have some even more strict rules because they have all their sponsors.
Now you can put bacon on it because it's just a grilled sandwich.
Well, so now I can actually. The actual sponsor is a bison company, so I have to have bison on it, and I get 3 different choices of meat: ground bison, I think they're skirt bison, and then something else I can't remember which other. Oh, the ribeye. So I can make a sandwich with one of those kinds of meats, and then when I make it to the final round, the sponsored seasoning, and I can't remember the name of it, but you guys are gonna love this. It's the Mexican seasoning that has like the lady on it, and the bottles are white almost. And it's basically pure MSG.
Oh, yeah.
It's spectacular stuff. I forget what it's called. It's like La Catina, or I can't remember the name of the spice, but it's their official sponsor, and I look forward to using that because I'm just going to cover the meat in it, and it's going to turn it into mush, and we'll do banh mi's over there.
Right.
Oh, is that her right there?
I think that's really cool. Yeah, so they have different flavors of that. Yeah, the Fiesta brand. Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. So all of their different flavors have the MSG in it. So it's good stuff.
That's great.
Well, it's highly underappreciated. MSG is really a delicious thing.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break. We're going to take a quick Tinker coffee break. Did you get a chance to have some Tinker coffee upstairs?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's delicious.
Tinker coffee, I say a million good things about them. One of my favorite things that they just came out with is they have individual Tinker bags that you can take on the road with you now. I'm a traveling comedian. Yeah. So we have Tinker all the time here for the show and everything. And then I have a show in Illinois and I'm staying in a hotel and I wake up and I realized, hotel coffee is the absolute worst. Now I can take this Tinker coffee with me wherever I go. They have not only, this is the like steeped coffee. All you need is hot water. And then also we have this amazing coffee, Chris, was it dried coffee? What do they call it?
It's not wet coffee.
We got so close to the end.
I was killing it. I was killing it.
Yeah, instant coffee.
That's the word I was looking for. Also, Tinker right now has been nominated for the best independent coffee shop in the USA. If you go check out their social media, they have a link and you can go help vote for them. Make Tinker Coffee the best independent coffee shop in the USA. We're going to have some Tinker coffee and then we'll be right back after these messages.
They'll vote Indianapolis.
This week on the After Brunch Podcast.
The first sign is peeing in like jars, right? That's always the first sign. Yeah, I feel like you start collecting your own urine. That's always like that's the first one to go.
Yeah, that's like a check engine oil light or something. But like here's the thing,
it's way past the point once you start pissing in jars.
That's not the first sign.
No.
That's nowhere near the first sign.
That's
Join us at patreon.com/harderbrunch.
Well, we were talking off air earlier about like, what makes a chef and those are the things that I think about. Like when I was in culinary school, there was this idea of taking, I think I was the last class where you even had to like line up and be inspected and your facial hair had to be in a certain way. And it was almost kind of like the military a little bit, almost a little bit, but like, there was just something about taking pride in your work and taking pride in, what you did. And I'm like, and then I looked back at that time at all the corners I used to cut and all this stuff and was like, I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. I want to do everything the right way. But it is very interesting when you're talking about what makes it, because like I also worked places a lot where we had these culinary school graduates and they would just come in and they would love telling people that they were chefs but they would do so like, I don't do dishes.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, chef, we'll see about that. Yeah.
You're fired.
Or they'll come in and you've met these guys.
Well, I feel like for me, so I went to culinary school after I had worked as a chef in a couple of places. And so like I was like a returning adult too, and I think it was awesome because a lot of my instructors I ended up having, professional relationships with afterward. That's where I met like Tony Hanslet. That's where I met Chef T. That's where I met a lot of, but no, it was a liability to tell people that you had graduated from there. Like I got, after I graduated, I did it a couple times. I used it and I had a couple tell me just straight up, we don't hire culinary grads. Right. And so I just was like, okay, I got experience. I got, relationships from this, but it's not it's like a negative.
Yeah. Your degree worked against you.
Well, but I also went back to school on like a working adult scholarship. And so I do feel like I felt so positive about it because I didn't spend the $47,000 to do it. And if I had spent that out of my pocket, I would have been pretty salty, at not being able to use that as and it was like my position going into, I think culinary school would be great as a finishing school, but I think that you should probably be, in the industry 6 to 8 years. And because it's not a good return on investment.
No, like the culinary school should be driven and paid for by the corporate restaurants, not by the individuals.
Yeah, like Hamburger University or something like that.
And the corporate restaurants should be sending the people of value to them to culinary school for whatever. So I was fortunate when my parents got a divorce when I was a teenager.
That is fortunate.
They were right. I've been dragging my kids through it way extra long. My parents were like, "Nah, you're good." But when that happens in the state of Washington, they just sell everything. It's just community property stay, everything's sold and blah blah. So I went to interview at a restaurant that my parents didn't own for the first time in my life when I was 16. And at the end of the interview, they're like, "Man, you know a lot about restaurants." I'm like, I don't know what I don't know. I just know what my parents told me and what my angry executive chef would yell at me about all the time. So don't make people sick or we're unemployed, and don't waste food, and work clean. And I'm like, "Yeah, you want a job?" I was like, "Yeah, man, I want to pay for my car." Yeah. So I was like the best dishwasher they ever saw. Yeah. And that's when I realized, I'm like, and I said this, I said this before, and it's like, you don't ever think like you're better than people, but man, I ran that dish pit so much better than everyone else around me. Everyone knew their night was going to be better when I was working, because I was ahead. I was the guy going to the line and taking their steam table pans, not waiting for them to come, kind of a thing. They loved me. Wow. And then that's when I just took years to be like, yeah, we just need to fill the whole building up with people like this, kind of a thing. So yeah, that was the evolution of going from working for my parents to corporate, and then full opening up restaurants and hitting burnout. And then you're on your own. And be careful what we wish for. Well,
if you're ever about to burn out, I suggest drinking some Oktoberfest Upland beer. Have you ever had this?
'Tis the season. Yeah, they do a delicious Oktoberfest. Yeah. Well, this year's, I say that broadly, this year's is actually delicious. The recipe technically changes a little bit every year for all the breweries. And
the secret's out.
I don't know if that is a secret. I think that's kind of...
We're going to pretend like it is.
Oh, yeah, secret's out.
Hey, you guys heard it here. It changes a lot.
There's sometimes I'll have an Oktoberfest, and I don't know how to describe it, as almost like a little too syrupy. Have you ever had one of those? It's a little too
a little too malty.
This is great. This is light, balanced, and there's something about enjoying a nice seasonal beer at the appropriate time.
Yeah, this seems right. We're early, right?
No, that's when you're supposed to drink October.
Yeah.
Oktoberfest is not in October.
No, Oktoberfest ends October 1st.
Oh, duh.
I know.
That makes sense.
So all the German Oktoberfests are happening in September. It's horrible when you go over there in October thinking you're gonna. It's very sad.
Right. Oh, that would be such a bummer.
But with the like everybody putting out Oktoberfest, and you got to get a tap handle or distribution, you start seeing people put out Oktoberfest in essentially August, so that they get in place by September.
Kind of like the same thing with the pumpkin beers.
Exactly. All the seasonal stuff just gets pumped out a little bit earlier. I think I saw Halloween stuff last month at Lowe's or something.
Halloween really is the longest season, I felt like now, because you get 2 months. People like the end of August. As soon as August ends, they're like, it's spooky season.
Yeah, November is just a diet Halloween.
Well, and don't you feel like there's an entire generation of people who have no problem leaving that Halloween stuff out way longer than it's ever been left out? Well, like when I was a kid, if you left your Halloween stuff out, it just got stolen.
I mean, we live in Irvington.
Yeah, it's pretty Halloween.
It's Halloween town.
That's a fair statement.
Yeah. It's Halloween to Christmas here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair statement.
But
people definitely are more okay with Halloween being extended as opposed to I feel like so I work the Christmas market every year up north, and it's a great time. It's very concentrated Christmas for a month and a half, and people have a lot less tolerance for when Mariah Carey starts coming on. People get very upset about it.
Christmas kind of forces you to be happy. It's like kind of like a burden. Like, Halloween you can be bummed out and happy.
Oh, so you're modeling about it. Yeah, that makes sense.
There's no expectation.
You're right. that makes a lot of sense.
I love that.
Let's talk about the food that we made today. It's time for the Smoking Goose brunch breakdown. Smoking Goose, located at 411 Dorman Street. I always remember that, Zach.
Well, I mean, it is easy to remember because, you give them the 411. That's the information.
That's a good. Did you come up with that?
That's really good.
411 Dorman
Street. I'm never going to forget that.
Smoking Goose, they have some really great stuff. This is current, so if you're listening to this week, they got lots of new seafood, including cuttlefish. They got some limited new releases like lobster tail mac, pawpaw glazed, bacon burnt ends, And, you know, I'm very excited. I meant to say this last week, but our friends over at Gavi Sauce, they're on the shelves right now. A lot of people have been asking. I've been talking about this sauce. They're not a sponsor. I just love it. It's a local dude. I think this is going to be the next sauce of Indianapolis. And they're like, where do you get it? I'm like, I just keep running into the guy, and he keeps hooking me up with the Gavi sauce. And now I have an addiction. But if you go to Smoking Goose, check out some of the stuff. They got some great local products. They support all these local food realtors. Go check them out. This week, in your honor, Chef JJ,
Yes.
everything that we made on our menu was 2 J's.
Love it.
And part of that was because also you were such an enigma.
Right.
We didn't know if you were going to be black or white or
Right.
young or
Right.
old or it's like a whole Doctor Who situation.
Right.
But we knew your day was Chef JJ, and so we couldn't mess that up. And then Zach, you did the first course.
I did a jam and jelly board, so it was kind of like a play on the charcuterie. I had some cinnamon bread English muffins. There was a blackberry thyme jam, a sriracha strawberry soy jam, apple cider jelly, and some Danish blue cheese.
What a spread!
It was delicious.
No, it was crazy.
I love it.
I was speechless. I mean that cheese that had that. What was it?
Oh yeah, it also had ghee toast on there, which is it's called a caramel cheese, and so it looks like caramel, and it has a slightly sweet, pretty nutty flavor to it. It's really good with like jams and stuff.
Right. I've never had anything like that before.
Yeah, it was delicious.
The second course was the Johnny Cakes and jicama hash. Johnny Cakes are always weird because like they're more savory, you know.
Yeah.
They're not going to be as sweet, which I know that like that doesn't go too far in this house, you know. Like, so
I love savory.
I put some fruit on it. Put some we put some Aunt Jemima syrup on it.
So that was the 3 J's. That was the 3 J's dish. That was for JJ Johnson, or is that?
Because you weren't sure. You weren't sure if he was going to show up, or that's fair.
I also wasn't sure if I was going to find the jicama. So
What is that?
Jicama is a root vegetable. Grown in
tuber? Is it a tuber?
Gosh, now you're getting really technical. I don't know if it's a tuber or not.
But it's like a very waxy, like it's got this like very waxy undershell.
Essentially
There it
the
is.
texture of a potato or an apple, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of like an apple when
But
it's
takes
raw, but
on
like a
the-
water chestnut when it's cooked.
Yeah, yeah, and takes on essentially whatever flavor you're cooking with. So yeah, you got to peel it, cut it.
I like fresh jicama sticks.
Yeah,
I
those
think
are really nice. They have
Oh.
great texture.
Is it pronounced jicama? I've been saying it wrong for years.
I like hearing you say jicama so much that I've been just not saying it.
Yeah, I'm
It's
not
like
a
GIF or GIF.
So this is.
I don't think it is.
So
I think you're just saying the wrong one.
I'm terrible at grammar and English, so I'll be the last to correct anybody, even when I know it's jicama. All my Mexican friends, they call it jicama. Like that J is a jicama. See, it's a jicama.
Oh,
It sounds like
gotcha.
jicama.
Okay.
But I'm not about to tell anybody because I'm the worst speaker of English. So
Yeah. Well, it's not Chef HH, is it?
right, it's not HH. Right? I hate English. That's perfect.
And then the next course I did was the jalap rice with the jerk chicken on top, which is like a Nigerian preparation with the tomatoes. Man, jollof. There it is. It just looks so pretty online too, and I was just like, oh. And then for some reason, I thought it was gonna be like really difficult to make, and then I started like looking. I was like, oh yeah, like this is
It's basically like Mexican rice.
yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Very flavorful, and then the jerk chicken on there.
Yeah.
And then
I had seconds of
Thank
the
you for
rice.
doing the chicken thighs, by the way.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's proper. I mean, if you're not going to eat a whole chicken at once,
Yeah.
you should just be eating the chicken thighs. Yeah, that's proper.
I love dark meat too.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a dark meat.
I mean, here's the thing. At first, when I took a bite, I went through a journey because it's like, oh, like I was thinking I need more salt. Like I might want to put salt in there. But then I had the chicken with it, And then I was like, oh wait, that's where the flavor was. And then you mix it together. It's like, oh, like I almost wish I had instructions how to eat, but then that might have been belittling to a lot of people.
It's
So how do
almost
you
like
tell
when he
people-
put it with the rice, you needed more explicit, instructions on how to eat those two together.
Well, you're-
because I wouldn't have thought that either. I peeled it off. I just ate I started by licking the plate, and I was like, this doesn't taste like anything. But then I was like, there's food on here,
You should
and if
start
I
with
had
the
known
food.
to start with that, it would have been such a different experience.
Well, you're making it sound simple. This,
That's wild.
this chicken is spread out. You might have 4 cutlets, 5. You
I don't know. I don't know how many cutlets you had.
So I won't speak to English because I'm terrible at it, but I definitely know when you're saying the wrong food word.
I was just testing.
Just
you.
4 pieces.
I was just seeing if you're the
4
real deal.
slices.
I think this is what I call Thad pilling the guest, is when the guest realizes that Thad doesn't know about food.
No, I already know that Thad doesn't know about food. We've already established that.
What gave it away?
Well, I mean, I do know you somewhat.
Yes.
And I have seen previous podcasts.
Okay, yes.
So
That'll be a
we
dead
don't-
giveaway.
Yeah, we don't hide the fact that you are the beauty and the brains and the comedy
The brains
of the
for
operations. Right?
sure. I'm the brain, Pinky.
You're definitely the beauty.
No.
You do well, you two are gonna have to fight each other for nicest hair. Because we can't help you at all. We're not even challenging.
It's a real half and half situation here.
Which one's worse?
Which one's worse?
Which one's worse?
I appreciate the effort.
Tell me about that dessert.
So for dessert, I did a Java Jamaican rum cake, which is just a rum cake. I soaked it with a bunch of, what was it, the black rum that we had from earlier on, and then I had some spiced rum I put in there as well. And then some Tinker coffee, and sprinkled some of their new instant powder over top.
Did
That was nice.
my cake have more rum in it than everyone else's?
No, they were all cut from
They were
the same.
soaked with rum.
Yeah, it was delicious.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you were like very
Rummy.
specific. You were like, "This is your piece," and I was like, kept waiting
No,
for the other shoe to drop.
Did it taste super? I mean, there's
Here,
a lot
smell
of
this
rum in
towel.
there.
It was. I mean, it was boozy in a good way. Rum's my favorite thing,
Yeah.
so it was just like, but it was noticeably. It was boozy.
Yeah.
It's spicy
Yeah.
boozy.
you didn't cook it off though or anything. Did you literally just pour the rum right over the top?
So, I soak the dried fruit in the rum. That gets pureed and put in the cake. So that does get baked.
Yeah, okay.
Then I poked the holes in it. I cooked the coffee syrup, and then when I took it off the heat, I poured the rum in afterward to keep it as alive as possible. Then I soaked that through and let it sit overnight, soaked a little more this morning, and took the remainder of that and thickened it with cornstarch so that it would make a nice sauce to drizzle over top. So the sauce itself probably has the least amount of alcohol in it.
Yeah.
But
But the
cake,
soaking liquid has the most amount of alcohol.
exactly. And there's a solid, there was a
lot.
solid 2 cups of, I'd say a solid cup of spirits that were in the cake.
Yeah.
Divided over, I don't know, you had a 16.
So I don't always get to sit down and eat the full meal, so I just kind of pick and then there's sometimes I'll be busy and I won't eat anything. There's a notorious episode where the guests brought we were doing a pirate theme, and there was rum balls were part of it being served.
Oh my gosh.
And then on an empty stomach, all I ate for breakfast was rum balls.
Oh no.
And then we sat down to do the podcast, and you have a couple beers while you're and then all of a sudden, in the last 5 minutes of the podcast, I am asleep.
Wait, you're the host.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
driving the car.
Yeah, which is not what you want in a driver. So they had to finish the podcast without me, and then I woke up the next morning, and I was like,
That was awesome.
man, I don't really remember saying goodbye to the guests. I don't really remember them leaving. Like what? And I was like, oh yeah, you ate rum for breakfast.
Yeah. Rum for breakfast.
That's spectacular.
So always got to be careful. Chef JJ, you brought a gift with
Brought you a housewarming gift.
you brought us a housewarming gift. It's upstairs. I should have brought it. Can you bring up the book that you just had up there, Casey? Chef JJ, you wrote a book
I did. I wrote a cookbook.
and gifted it to us. I'm very excited. Tell us about writing a book. I've never written a book before.
Yeah. So what happened with that was have some clients. I have lots of corporate clients, but one of my corporate clients is works at Penguin Random House Publishing.
Okay.
And loved us and our food, and was like, and loves the Big Green Egg, and that's got a big following, and so he's like, we want to publish a book. I was like, awesome. What do I need to do? And they're like, you just need to give us the recipes. We'll do everything else. So Penguin Random House is a pretty big publisher. They're based out of England, but a lot of people don't know that their main U.S. hub is here. Mm-hmm. So they have a huge group of people who work here that do nothing but publish books all the time.
Yeah.
So it was convenient that we were based here, because normally all the people that work are flying on location to do the photo shoots and do all that stuff. But since we were in town, it just made it that much easier.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, in 2017, they approached me, and then we spent a year, writing the recipes and all that. And then it came out in 2018. So it's been a handful of years since it's been out.
Now, how does that work? Are you writing stuff and submitting it, and they're like, yeah, it'd be better if you...
Yeah, it's terrible. It's
really?
A horrible experience. Because, they're like, we want 100 recipes. I'm like, no problem. Yeah. And the main thing they had going for me is because I had been doing these classes for all these years, I already had established recipes that were proven that people liked, that I had literally cooked. Yeah. So a lot of the testing had been done, yada, yada, yada. And so I sent in 100 recipes, and they probably sent back 50 of them. They're like, no, we don't think so. And the thing that I didn't understand is that my product is meant to be fed, essentially spoon fed to you. I'm meant to be in front of you. I'm meant to explain the stories behind the recipes. I'm meant to show you. Yeah. So all of that is my product. That's what we do. Yeah. And now I'm trying to write a book where someone in Africa or England is going to be reading it and needs to understand what's happening. So my recipes weren't complete enough, and
they weren't geared for that.
No, they're like, you need to write a recipe like you're talking to a fifth grader. And I was like, oh, and you need to do it in both metric and what's imperial, whatever those two measurements. So I had to do it in both measurements, and then I had to get quantities that made sense. So when you were converting back and forth, you weren't getting a bunch of weird decimal points, things like that. So I had to have recipes that would give you that variance, so you could have a little more. And then they didn't like things like any of the awful recipes. Like they're like, no intestines, no heart, no liver, nothing like that. Don't do anything like that. And then I had like like pig's head. You slow cook a whole pig's head. That is a bunch of different delicious meats.
Yeah, the cheek.
Oh, it's awesome. But no pig's head. We can't put how are we going to photograph that? People will be so offended by pig's head. And it's like, you go to Saraga and get a pig's head. It's not like this exotic.
Yeah. So what year was this?
This was 17. 2017.
Wow, even in 17 they were saying that.
Yeah, so they're just so all the recipes are really kind of pushed to the middle, and they're kind of baseline. Yeah. Like they have some creativity, but not enough to scare anybody off. And
you want to sell to the most amount of people.
Well, yeah.
I mean, they probably run that through a test audience too.
Exactly.
And the ones that they don't like, the 20% that they don't like, they just knock off.
Well, and that's the thing is that I didn't understand is like Penguin Random House is like $1 billion company. They know what they're doing, so just give them then they're like, yeah, we just don't. And so I'm arguing with them, and then right. So then we're arguing, I'm arguing with them briefly, and then finally, someone's like, they're $1 billion company. They know what they're doing. Just give them what they want. And that's when I kind of let go of my dream cookbook of sharing all of these awesome recipes that were inspired by my Italian mother and those. You won't see any of those. That's not my dream cookbook.
That would be an amazing publishing line to go around to all of the chefs and be like, we just want you to publish exactly what you want.
I would call it the fuck you book, the fuck you cookbook. These are all fuck you recipes. Like you're never it makes no financial sense to make this recipe other than it just feeds your soul. You would never put it on a restaurant menu. You could never execute it in high volume, but you have to eat this dish. And if that means you got to go and spend $400 to get the weird stuff, to do it right it's worth it. I'd love to do a book like that. But
do you ever think
sell
about
15 copies?
Do you ever think about self-publishing a book like that?
Oh, that sounds like hard work. So that's the great thing about a book like through Penguin Random House. They basically do all the work for you. Yeah. You just have to make your book middle of the road.
I will say, not knowing the backstory, it looked beautiful. It looked professional and legit. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, you like it. It's great recipes.
And also, just putting this out there, I think more guests should bring gifts. I think that should be a thing.
I thought that was standard operating procedure.
That is, and that's what you got to do. You just got to say, I thought that was what the deal was.
Yeah. All right, all in favor?
It passes.
It passes.
It's official.
Yeah. So a funny story on that book cover. That's a picture of a big green egg.
Sure.
And
That's red.
It is red,
Yeah.
and was originally printed as a big green egg, and then Big Green Egg contacted me and tried to hit me with a cease and desist.
Oh.
And they're like, "You can't do that. That's our blah blah blah. You're not authorized. Blah blah blah." And first of all, I'm an authorized dealer of the Big Green Egg.
Yeah.
So you're allowed to be marketing and that is
not,
weird.
Not only that, I'm one of your biggest sellers of the green egg.
It
I'm
still
one of your
doesn't
biggest
surprise me.
proponent,
Yeah.
right? And then, so I was freaked out for a second. So then I call public, the people at Penguin Random House Publishing. I'm like, oh, they put this cease and desist, and they're like, yeah, don't worry about that.
Diet red and call it
I
that.
was like, but they're multi-million-dollar, and that's, I was like, yeah, but we're a billion-dollar company, and this is what we do. We know what we can and can't put on there, and so next thing I know, it is the exact same thing. It is the Big Green Egg, only it's red. If you look at the dial, it still has the Big Green Egg logo on the dial.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah.
So
So it's
now-
basically like a big FU to Green Egg.
Now that hasn't like sullied a relationship with them or anything like that.
No,
right?
I mean, I've never had a amazing relationship with Green Egg because that's not how they treat their people like that.
Gotcha.
They are the attitude. We're Green Egg. You're welcome.
Okay.
So
you're buying this as a product and you're doing what you
Yeah.
can to.
Yep, I'm a wholesaler,
So
and
they're
I
not going
sell
to
it.
stop you from buying it anyway. So
No.
it's not like that relationship's necessarily the most.
No, I mean, they could.
I wanted to ask, but I didn't want
They
to
could
bring
have
it up.
probably
and-
helped themselves by promoting me. I mean, I'm
Sure.
a pretty big promoter of Big Green Egg.
Yeah.
Sure.
But they
That's
chose not to.
wild.
Yeah, it's crazy,
That
huh?
is wild.
Yeah.
What is Kamado then?
Oh, okay. So Kamado is a specific brand of grill. So you have charcoal grills. you have-
Gotcha. It's a
you have-
category.
Yep, it's a category of grill.
Yep.
Okay.
So a Kamado grill is most all the time made of ceramic, and usually that egg shape.
High cooking temps.
It can be high cooking temps. It can do low cooking temps. But the idea is ceramic holds the heat and energy that you're creating. So it doesn't
Right.
take a lot to get it hot. Doesn't take a lot to keep it hot.
Oh, okay.
It's almost like driving downhill. And we've all grown up or used all sorts of different kinds of grills and smokers. The common thing with that is they're all metal. So metal conducts heat and energy. So you're constantly feeding the beast to keep up with what's happening, outside weather, wind, rain, things like that. Whereas the egg, you don't. You just set it up and you do it, fire it up and put your food on, and then it just stays the temperature it's going to stay.
Wow.
So it's kind of a lazy man's griller, lazy man's smoker. You don't have to babysit it, add more wood chips, you don't have to do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
What would you suggest for a beginner?
As far as what to cook,
Green egg. Which egg?
oh, well, it's directly related to how many you're going to be cooking for. So if it's just a single person, a medium egg's fine. There are people who are empty nesters who are driving around. So I sell them like the Mini Max, which is like a tabletop version. It's big enough to cook a couple steaks. So if it's just two of you, like in an RV or something.
Oh, that's cool.
But if you have a family, I mean, you're buying a large or an extra large, and then usually you're buying multiple because it just happens. You use it, and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to cook everything on that. It's like you came to my class, and I did a 5-course meal for you, but I have 27 eggs in one. I can do a 5-course meal for 30 people.
Yeah.
You can't do that at your house. Like trying to execute today's brunch on one egg would have
Yeah.
just been disastrous. You just don't have enough room, or
Right.
so that's where people end up like, picking up a second egg. They're like, I just want to cook everything on it. I was like, oh, you need another egg then, brother. Right?
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the book looks great.
It was fun to get through. I guess it's my little piece of history. You can never erase that off the internet.
Yeah.
right?
That's quite an accomplishment.
We got to get
So-
you your own Wikipedia page. I feel like that's
For
what we got
real.
to do.
There's so much that we
Right.
uncovered.
Because what's going to happen now is when people Google your name, this is going to come up.
Oh, sweet. That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
You know they shut
You're
it
way
down
cooler
if
than
you
me.
make your own Wikipedia.
Really?
Yeah, I tried to fill one out for myself.
Of course.
And it kept getting deleted.
I'll
What
fill
were
one
you
out for
saying?
you.
You're probably making up lies.
Well, I was saying that I was the most famous mustard maker in Indiana.
That's true, though, isn't it?
I mean, I feel
Wait a
like
second.
I feel like I wanted somebody to prove that it wasn't true.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
Who
fair.
was...
I feel like they were getting it down
Who
too
was,
quickly to have researched it.
Gosh, they
Yeah,
weren't
you can't remember, can you?
No.
Exactly.
They weren't making mustard, though. They were
Huh?
making just barbecue sauce. Or who
Sure.
Was it No Name? No Name. That was
No
that
Name-
was salsa. That was No Name salsa.
Well, there's also No Name Catering and
No.
pizza or whatever.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. Lots of people have made
People
barbecue.
tell me that. Well, and people
Yeah.
they're like, "God, that has such good sauce. You should bottle that." And I remind people, like, "Do you know how many bottles of barbecue sauce I would have to sell to make the rent?
It's a lot.
It's a lot. You have got to move so much product,
Yeah.
and you know now you're talking to, you know, like people who are making it for you at what is it, 10,000 gallons at a time or 1,000 gallons at a time or something crazy.
Now selling to restaurants is a better deal. It's harder to get in the door, but it's a much more recurring nature.
Yeah.
And especially like if I were to do a sauce co-packing business, I would specifically get in with the barbecue like shops because they're using 50 to 100 gallons or whatever on a regular basis. You make that in a big tilt kettle.
Yeah.
You pour it into 5-gallon buckets. You don't have near the sort of packaging situation that you do trying to fill them in glass jars and then move them out and then trying to sell a customer every single time they go into the store on picking your brand up again. But yeah, I've seen barbecue sauce sold straight to restaurants, and you have a base, right? You have a base recipe, then you know each one has their proprietary blend that you do with them.
Yeah.
And I mean that's a lucrative model.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
So your spot downtown, I was under the impression that you had to have like a membership to come and dine there. Is it each like a separate event, or is there a membership where you are like part of a club for the year? How does that work?
We have both. We have kind of all of it now. We cover the spectrum. So we have our ticketed events. You don't have to be a member for. You just go to our website. Whatever is available, you can buy. Those are wine dinners, beer dinners, farm to fork events, classes that are a specific topic or cuisine or something. So there's lots of that type of stuff. And then we have, we do have members. We call them season ticket holders, and they pay a price per year so that they don't ever get shut out. Because we used to, after I made the mistake of putting all my stuff on sale at once, then I was like, well, I can't do that. So I'm just
Your
gonna.
preferred customers would miss out sometimes.
They would always, they're like, I don't want to, you know, I would go to, okay, we're going to announce it on this date. And I would do it once a quarter for the next quarter, you know, like a month ahead. So people, and then that became like this frenzy of people just hammering my website and, you know, complain, why are you announcing them at 3:00? Some people have to work at 3:00. You know, it's like, I could never do it right. So then finally I was like, all right, well, if you guys don't want to fight any of this, you can become season ticket holders. We'll send the email to all of you first. You can pick what seats you want, and then whatever's left, we'll put out.
Open up to sale.
Yeah, we'll open up to sale.
So does that just like so you're still paying on the events? There's just a
Premium.
basically a premium you're holding your spot first for the year.
Yeah, you pay a premium. It becomes essentially a premium, but I give you an all-inclusive ticket. So that premium, basically, all these events, you're not ever going to pay for any of your drinks. It's just all included.
Oh, I see. So
Yeah.
it has a different nature to the ticket.
It has a
than
different nature.
A general admission.
Yeah,
would.
I mean, you're a season ticket holder, so you're going to be treated a little differently.
Gotcha.
You're
That
going to be
makes
seated
a
a
lot of
little bit
sense.
better. Your drinks are going to be included. And we host a specific event each year that's just for season ticket holders. So you get an additional event that doesn't cost you anything.
Now you did like a comedy show there, right? There was
Right.
like
So that's one of the things we
a
do.
Thaddaeus,
I love
a
it.
Thaddaeus J. Mckee comedy show there. That
As
was
our headliner, it was sexy.
that was a lot of fun.
And we've done that multiple times.
Yeah, we did it like for 4 years annually.
Yep.
That was a big deal. That was a lot of fun.
Yep.
And
So
if
we'll
you guys
continue to do
are,
those.
if you see that again, if you see my name on there, go to the show. It's always a blast. Everybody has fun.
Yep.
You did it too, Dyke.
I did. It was fun. And it's such a cool space down there, too. You got that, I don't know if it's always open, but there's kind of like that rooftop access. You got this beautiful view of
Oh
downtown.
yeah, the rooftop
Yeah,
is
it's
amazing.
cool
right in the
space.
mix of everything.
Yeah, we joke a lot that it's kind of like Fight Club. A lot of people drive by it. They never see it open. They've never been in there. So we don't talk about it a lot. But if you
It's
know
like,
about
it's
it, you
like
know
your
about it.
social media presence. It's
like
just
a
shrouded
social-
in mystery.
Yeah.
The secret's out now.
Yeah. I'm terrible at social media, personally speaking.
Sure.
I've become that old man where
It's probably good for your spirit, though.
it's probably okay for my spirit. I'm still connected to our business socials, so I get notifications about responses, but I'm disconnected enough to where I can't actually access those notifications. So I'm like, okay, whatever's. Someone will tell me if something bad is happening, I guess.
That's awesome.
So-
Can you drop a beat for me there, Sauce Boss? Chef JJ, thank you so
That's
much
great.
for coming and being on the program with us today. One more time, can you tell people exactly how to get to that social media and where to find you guys on all the events?
ChefJJ's.com is a pretty great place to go. It's our website. We've got all of our information on there, our season tickets, all the stuff you can buy. We've also recently opened a public house. So it's our version of a restaurant, but we don't run it like a restaurant. Taking advantage of all the big events and things like that. So we'll open to the public very select days of the year, mostly aligning with like Colts football. And I think Taylor Swift's coming to town, so that'll be a few days of craziness.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
We're literally a block away from this.
Yeah.
So we're right in the middle of it. So chefjjs.com will find all your information.
Awesome. Thaddeus J.
At Thad Mckee on all social media.
Zach Rowe.
If you followed us this far, follow us on over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/Harder Brunch. Only $3 a month for new episodes every single week.
Casey Campbell.
You can find me on Instagram at Danger Brewer. Also look for my brand new product, the Big Blue Egg. It's a completely new and different thing that no one's ever done before.
Hey.
Love it.
I'm at Dyke Michaels on all social media. Stick around and join us on Patreon. We're heading over there next. We're going to be talking to some comedians. You guys have a great week. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, guys.